Chelsea will be relieved to get a point, having scored in the 95th minute.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned before kick-off, didn't we, that, I said Chelsea have got a good record against the big sides at Stamford Bridge, drawing against Liverpool on the opening day. They also got a point against Arsenal at home, and now this point against Manchester City. Arguably, Mauricio Pochettino will take a huge amount of confidence from this. I suppose it's against arguably the lesser sides, or maybe the teams around Chelsea currently in the table, that they need to ensure
Palestinians are being killed is because Hamas has chose to wage its offensive military capabilities in hospitals, in UN-run schools, near mosques. Israel doesn't get to choose, and the U.S. doesn't get to choose where Hamas fights. Hamas chooses where it wants to fight, and is deliberately choosing. It would be like the analogy I would recommend President Biden gives. It would be as though Russia located a missile launcher next to a Russian orphanage and was firing at Ukraine. And Ukraine responded and accidentally killed the Ukraine. It took out the Ukrainian orphanage. The U.S. wouldn't blame Ukraine for that. It would obviously be Putin's decision. It was a strategic decision. And I think President Biden needs to start framing things in those terms. And then I think the American public's tolerance for the images coming out of Gaza will be, higher.
I got to quickly ask you about the book. Given what's happened now with the war, does it make you feel there are things about the book that you got wrong, you got particularly right? Reflect on, give me an afterword after the book.
Yeah, when we wrote the book, Israel was at the depth of division. Israeli society was it looked like it was tearing itself apart between secular, religious, and left and right, and people in Tel Aviv versus the struggling towns of the periphery. And when we explain the book, is there a building block? I think that no matter how divided the country gets,
Phillips Mountain Lookoff Road
feels a little different than many other Western affluent democracies like our own, where you sometimes feel, will the country really hold together? And the reason we felt that way is because at the end of the day, Israel has built into its cultural system like these societal shock absorbers that people don't view each other as the other. Whether it's national military service, compulsory military service, whether it's other rituals in Israeli society, it holds the country together, gives it a communal feel, and I think that is what is happening right now. The solidarity of the country has come together. It's quite inspiring.
When you come back, I will have to ask you whether that rested on having a Palestinian mother. I have to come back to that because we are right out of it. We will be back.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office. And your options for cancellation.
Call now for okay, 800-718-40. It's 800.
Whoa, that's nasty down there.
Our annual summer vacation would be out of reach.
Boy.
I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. I knew it was time to stop putting it off and get life insurance right now. I got on my computer and went to ethoslife.com. In just 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected. Thanks to Ethos, my family won't have to worry about the bills. Nothing predictable happens to me.
Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few questions and get your free quote at startethos.com. That's
To choose.
no question.
Seriously? Have you run payroll before?
Paying my team with Gusto couldn't be easier. Gusto gives me unlimited payroll runs, next day direct deposits, and automatically files my taxes. Saves me time.
Wow, that's nice.
Only you got payroll too?
Choose payroll without the pay. Visit gusto.com/serious to sign up for free.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time?
awesome. A couple minutes to sign up. Instead of just watching your dollars go into your money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news. Cash out of your... Just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code VOTES for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code VOTE. Use code VOTES for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas, New Jersey, Wisconsin.
A new opportunity is called. Join an elite team carrying what matters. After being a hero for your country, become a hero on the highway. What if you were meant for something bigger? A career that puts you in the driver's seat and an office with the best views in the country. Shift your perspective. See yourself in a tank truck by visiting GoTankTruck.com.
SiriusXM Radio.
Transform your environment and melt into music channels curated to calm. Fade into the lo-fi haze of Chill Hub or lose yourself in the electronic ambiance of Tranquil. Explore these channels and more across Sirius and Sirius.
SiriusXM Radio.
SiriusXM.
State elections in the U.S. this week brought some good news for Democrats. But 1 year out from the presidential election, polls are flashing warning signs for Joe Biden. A new poll by the New York College found Biden trailing Donald Trump in several key battleground states. How to make sense of these two data points, the elections and the poll? Joining me is Kristen Soltis Anderson, Republican strategist, pollster, and CNN contributor. Kristen, I'm really anxious to hear from you about what you make of the two polls. You know, the election seems to have gone well for Democrats, and yet you have this startling poll where Biden is basically behind in all but one of the crucial swing states.
Well, we can start with there's a lot of evidence.
No signal.
They are. Voters going to a set of issues, including things like abortion, which is a real political hot button, that at the moment has felt separate from this 2024 Donald Trump versus Joe Biden contest. But as we approach next year, I think these two debates are going to converge, and you'll wind up seeing this overall political environment start to settle in a bit more with that really big activism and engagement from Democratic voters who may not love Joe Biden, but they're very motivated to stop Donald Trump and very motivated to protect abortion rights.
So, as you say, it does seem to center around Joe Biden, because in that Times CNN poll, what was striking was how much better against Trump. It was beating Trump.
I think this is the place that I nearly went in the ditch
So
a couple
it
of
does
years ago.
feel like this is about Joe Biden.
right
What
about
do you
here.
think it is?
Very
went
much so. For
in a
instance, if
ditch.
you look at the crosstabs, how different demographic groups break out, in a Trump-Biden matchup, they show young voters splitting pretty evenly between these two candidates. As someone who studied young American voters for a long time, it would surprise me enormously if young voters actually voted in large numbers for Donald Trump. But at the same time, as you mentioned, as soon as it's not Joe Biden who's the opponent, as soon as it's just generic Democrat, suddenly young voters say, oh yes, I would choose that candidate by over a 20-point margin. Now, the flip side is also true. When it is, say, Joe Biden against a generic Republican, that generic Republican wins in a landslide. We're hearing voters right now just tell us, please don't stick us with Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, and yet it seems increasingly likely that that's just what they're going to get.
So Biden is underperforming among young voters, but also black voters and Hispanic voters. It does feel like, certainly with the young voters, it has a lot to do with the fact that they just think he's too old.
Very much so. The age is a huge piece of this. And that's why I think separating out young voters from other demographic groups that Biden is also struggling with is really important. For younger voters, it is in some ways a sense that he's perhaps...
No, we're not going to vote. No, we're not going to vote. Oh,
America.
wow. Nice rigs.
That a deciding factor, or is it too small a sliver of the electorate?
I'm skeptical that this will have a huge effect a year from now, but this is entirely dependent on how this conflict unfolds. Right now, you have lots of young voters who are much more likely than older voters to, say, be sympathetic to the Palestinian cause in this case, but they're also the most likely to be checked out of the news and not paying as close attention. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. I do think ultimately, when it becomes a choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, even if you're someone who is, say, not enthused with Joe Biden's policies on these issues, he will be very eager to point out, well, what do you think Donald Trump would do if he was president, and try to draw that contrast in order to take voters who are unenthused now and make them enthused as the election approaches.
Kristen, thank you so much for putting this all in perspective for us. That was really great. Thanks to Kristen, and thanks to all of you for being part of my program this week. I will see you next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, Team Coco Radio is now Conan O'Brien Radio.
Yep, you've upgraded from channel 106 to 104, because, let's face it, I could stay at 106 forever.
You'll find my delightful Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, highlights from my late-night shows, showcasing some of the most absurd and hilarious moments from my decades on television.
Plus, dive deep into 28 years of late-night memories with Inside Conan.
Conan O'Brien Radio, now
On Sirius XM, channel 104.
Okay.
Or listen with the Sirius XM app.
Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Hey, small business owner. Are you ready to have the best year ever in 2024? When's the last time you checked your work